Hello. Okay. So, I again, this was actually one of the most horrible experiences of my life. Not now, but when I was 2005 to 2010, so many things happened. Um, so I was a student at the Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine, started in 2005. And I the whole time I had horrible experience at this school. And so I was thrown out, I guess around 2008. And then I was able to argue my way back into the school. Trying to think of the guy's name. Uh it eludes me right now. But this guy let me back in the school after Dr. Gosh threw me out. Dr. Singer, Dr. Gosh, and Dr. Felagosi threw me out of the school. This guy who's higher up uh, let me back in. I had to take a year off or something, then come back. It's just outrage. The whole it was Dr. Cozzolino, I think his name was. The whole thing was absolutely outrageous. And then, um, so then, right before I was to graduate, this was about May 2010. I got a I remember I was so happy that it was coming to an end. I even took extra classes. I even took extra classes, which was another problem because I actually ended up failing one of the worst intelligence classes I've ever. I mean, well, it's the only one I've ever taken. Um, but it all was like happening at the same time. It kind of like everything kind of like snowballed together. Um, anyway, I got this message that I was under investigation from this woman, Tasha Toomer, and she is kind of like a tumor, but I I've seen her since when I was working at a place called Warren E. Smith, which is in North Philadelphia. And I know she saw me. She's like, "Oh, wow." She, I was put under investigation. Okay, I came in one morning, I had, like, coffee with me. I brought in coffee for everybody. I was so happy. I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna graduate." And also at the same time, I thought I was gonna buy my Uncle Gary's house in Williamstown. And, no. I got this I remember the woman who was the head of she was like the office manager. I was working at the adult coping clinic, and I came in and she was like, "Why are you here?" I was like, "Oh, what do you mean? I'm here to see my clients." And the sad thing about this, with all of the nonsense that was going on for me, having nothing to do with my practicum, I really did enjoy the work. The actual therapy that I was supposed to be doing. So I got this email that I was to leave the premises. The person who's, oh my god, she's just a disturbing person. Like, what kind of a person would do this? She, Tasha Toomer, she's supposed to be leading the investigation of me. I immediately went to her office and I said, "Well, let's resolve this. What is the investigation about? What do you need from me? What it you know I honestly had no idea why I was being investigated, and she would not tell me, and in fact, never told me. Never had me come in and talk about what I was being investigated for. And I think if she'd done that, the whole thing could have been resolved very easily, but she didn't. I really wonder what was going on. And then Dr. Marcia Singer, who pretended to be like a very nice person, she was my advisor at school. She came up to community council a second time, which was very unusual because she didn't go to any other students' uh, field location or whatever you call it. Um, and I had to hire an attorney. And my experiences with attorneys has been really awful as well. And the attorney said, this is after I'd been expelled. I was expelled. I lost my practicum. I also lost my job. I lost everything. I therefore was not able to buy my Uncle Gary's house, which was then subsequently sold. I mean, everything was going really well, and then everything like crashed and burned. And this was a moment that was part of it. So anyway, Tasha never told me what was going on. It was so dismissive. Like I don't think she could care less that she's ruined my life. It doesn't. Who cares? It's not her problem. And so, my lawyer, spoke to Community Council for mental health and mental retardation. That's what it was called at the time. And he said that I had sex with the adult sister of one of my clients, which would be wrong. Yeah. I mean, it would clearly be wrong. And that would be certainly an ethical violation if it was true. I never had sex with anyone in any way related to anyone I ever worked with, ever. I've been doing this job now since the mid 1990s, and it's now 2023. I've never had sex with, dated, winked at in any way, shape, or form anyone I've ever worked with. I did date somebody I worked with, but an employee, and that's another nightmare I like to talk about. But never anybody I worked like a client or anyone's client's family. And if I would have been given an opportunity for 5 minutes, I think, to be in any way a part of this so-called investigation, I could have explained that. Because first of all, I'm not really 100% sure who even made that allegation. I have an inkling, but I wouldn't even know who the one person's older sister was. Because and I think that, like, had they allowed me to say anything on my own behalf, I could have, I'm sure, proven that. Because I mean, if they would have given like the times and the dates when this sexual intercourse or sexual acts occurred, I could have shown that I was not there wherever there was. But no, she did not bother to even question me. I mean, I'm seething even now with so much anger and disgust, and the fact that there's no recourse that I seem to have except to just talk about it. Hopefully, talk about it publicly. I'd like to write about it. I like to expose people for who they really are. Because I didn't deserve that. In no way, shape, or form did I deserve that kind of treatment. I would never do anything like that. And it's like I could understand a patient saying something like that. Like that's why we're working with them, because they have issues. But the staff shouldn't do that. And I've had, to be very honest, horrible experiences with human resources and all the administrators, which is one of the things I'm very excited about today is, when I say today, I mean like now, these days, is the fact that I'm working for my own company. Because even now, I don't really enjoy working for other people at all. Anyway, I don't know what I can do about it. And also they said that I was talking about sex too much with the adults. Now that's not true either. For example, during the intake, like they had me doing these intakes, and there were a lot of very explicit sexual questions. I didn't write the questions. They just told me to read them. And um I remember one lady started getting very offended by the questions. I think it one of the questions was, do you engage in high risk sexual behavior? And I remember she said, do you? Do you? You know, she got really annoyed, and I can't blame her, actually. And then a lot of people started to talk about sex, which wasn't really, um, my experience working with children. I mean, there were children I worked with who had sex, but adults clearly have a lot more sex than kids. And but it wasn't like, when I say they were having sex, like some of them were raped, some of them were victims of incest, some of them were, one woman who I believe had schizophrenia thought that her next door neighbor was monitoring her sexually, from his house using, nanobites or whatever she said. And I remember asking at school, like, what am I supposed to do? Like, how do you reason with someone who is saying something like that? I wasn't, isn't because I mean, there was a woman who, it wasn't because, it was of any prurient interest to me. What I was more fascinated by was like, how does she I was more fascinated with her mind. Like, how does she think that this is even possible in terms of like the laws of physics? Like, but she really believed it. And then there's a woman who had been having sex with her father. And then I was like, oh my God, it's horrible. And the thing that I found really bizarre was that she was sad that it ended, that her father broke up with her and was actually dating grown women. Well, she was a grown woman at the time, but she was talking about in the past. And I remember my supervisor at the time at this adult coping clinic, she wanted me to, she told me like the best thing to do in some of the instances was to use prolonged exposure, which was developed by Dr. Edna Foa. And now I'm a certified prolonged exposure therapist. I had to go back to school all over again, and but this time I got a social work degree, and now I'm an LCSW. If I had the money, I would go on to get a doctorate in psychology. But I'm doing a lot of trainings, but there was no reason for it. I don't know what it is. I don't know why. I feel like it was attacked by so many, and unfortunately women. I'm not a misogynist in any way. Um, and there was one male had serious problems. Not serious problems, I shouldn't say that, but uh, I'm going to talk about that too. But it was largely women that I had a problem with at PCOM. I don't think I have a problem with women in general. Or I didn't have a problem with, I didn't have a problem with women. They had a problem with me, in particular women, about 5 of them. And at my various placements. And I do think there's like a racial there's like a racial as well as a political uh, aspect to the kind of discrimination that I received at this school. And it's not even the most elite school I've ever been to. Like, I mean, I would say the Episcopal Academy was the most elite school I've ever attended, far more elite than PCOM, please. And yet the arrogance, and the kind of dismissiveness I received at PCOM is mind-blowing to me. Like, you know, I've been in, more elite places, let's just say. Anyway, you shouldn't be treated like that no matter where you go or where you're at. It's just outrageous. The whole thing was outrageous, and I really want to be able to talk to people about it. I don't know how many people I can reach with these particular videos, but I'm gonna keep trying. And, thanks a lot.